Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Pete, welcome back. It is Saturday.
Ethan.
Films and Stuff. We're back. Mega episode today. We got to talk about Jurassic World.
Jurassic World Dominion. How are you? Everything? Are you excited? What did you think? What's your feeling on this?
So it is, for me, Saturday morning. I just came home from seeing it minutes ago. Literally minutes ago. And I think you saw it about 24 hours ago.
Yeah, I saw it almost exactly 24 hours ago. That's right.
So it is fresh in our minds. What was the cinema like for you? Was it packed, not packed, kids cheering? What was it?
I was fortunate. It was, relatively early in the morning. And like I've said in the past, I like going a little earlier because the cinema tends to be empty. There were maybe 4 or 5 people in the entire theater. And because it's Jurassic Park and because it's, the opening day, it was on the big screen as well. It wasn't like a smaller screen.
Yeah.
So I got the entire experience, but I got to do it basically on my own. I think there were a handful of people in there at most.
Okay. And what was your mindset going into this? I mean, were you like jacked? Were you wearing your safari outfit and your climbing boots and your hat, and or were you just kind of like, meh, I'll check it out?
I was, to be very honest, I was meh because if we're going to split it up, let's look at the 6 movies, as the Jurassic Park trilogy and then the Jurassic World trilogy.
Yeah.
Honestly, after Jurassic Park 1, it's kind of been downhill ever since, right?
Yeah.
There's been a couple of peaks and a couple of valleys, but more or less, I don't think
more
any of the movies have...
More valleys.
Yeah, I don't think any of the movies have really recaptured that sense of awe and excitement and amazement as Jurassic Park 1 did.
Yeah.
Again, I went in, with hopes that it was going to be excellent and with hopes that I was going to be wrong and that I thought, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. And it was not.
So what's your rating?
Honestly, it's a skip.
Yeah, I have to say. So I went 11 a.m. on a Saturday, and the cinema was kind of what you'd expect on a Saturday morning. I think a good bit full.
Okay.
I would not say, it's always hard to gauge the crowd, but I did not feel like a lot of energy. For Top Gun and Star Wars, I felt like a lot of energy. I did not feel the energy here. And I went in the same way as you. Pretty meh. I mean, I have to say, if it weren't for Films and Stuff, I probably would have waited until this came out on streaming, just because I'm not a huge Jurassic fan, firstly. And secondly, as you mentioned, after number 1, the last 4 have been pretty plain.
Miserable.
So I just didn't really feel a lot of enthusiasm. And I have to say, this is, from a cinema perspective, absolutely a skip. If you're really a dinosaur fan, wait for it on a streaming service, but we're
going to touch upon that, but how many dinosaurs did we really see, and did they play an integral part in this movie at all?
So
I think they were really just side pieces.
Maybe
right?
That's our first question. Is this a dinosaur series anymore?
It's exactly. And I think that you hit the nail on the head. So look, both of us, I'm definitely a skip. I think at best, Ethan is suggesting wait for streaming.
At best.
At best.
Yeah.
But I think both of us are leaning towards the skip it.
Yeah.
And let's just quickly give a very quick rundown synopsis of the movie. This movie takes place a couple years after Jurassic World 2.
Mm-hmm.
Where you've got Bryce Dallas Howard, who's kind of like this pro-dinosaur version of PETA activist, who's trying to, free them from cruelty. Dinosaurs are roaming the earth after they were released at the end of the second film. they are living in isolation. So she is now like in a full-blown relationship with Chris Pratt, and they are like co-parenting the granddaughter, the clone
Macy
granddaughter.
Lockwood. Yeah.
Right. Who plays the cloned granddaughter of
Attenborough.
John Hammond, the original guy who created Jurassic Park all the way back in 1993.
Yeah, with Newman.
Right? With Newman, exactly. And so you've got, so that's there. Then she gets kidnapped, and she's wanted because it's widely accepted that she's the first cloned human being. And so people want her for a variety of reasons. She gets kidnapped, which is the impetus for the new Jurassic Park stars to kick off this movie. Simultaneously, we find that a bunch of genetically modified locusts are running rampant through America's farmlands and are eating all the crops that are made of seeds or that are grown from seeds not by like this version of Monsanto, right? I mean, it's a very thin allegory, right? So, and that kicks off the plot of this movie for the original Jurassic Park trio with Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum.
Mm-hmm.
Then they so they go to the story. The second act is with them going to Malta. By them, I mean Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt going to Malta to save their daughter. They miss her. There's some action sequences in Malta, and then they end up going to Switzerland, where there is a new dinosaur sanctuary created by this Biosyn pharmaceutical group, which is also creating that, those genetically modified locusts, which is where the original trio get to automatically. They hook up there, and they're trying to get, evidence that Biosyn is this evil corporation. The two groups, the old group and the new group, meet up, and they have to kind of escape together. And, of course, dinosaurs are somehow ancillarily related, involved in all of this.
Yeah, that's interesting, is that we say dinosaurs are ancillarily related, because I agree. I mean, it's the premise is that, dinosaurs are now, integrated into the world, and they're roaming just like, a fox or a deer or a seagull. And, there's various levels of, problems, at least with the predatory ones. But apart from that, there's really not a whole lot of dinosaur stuff. A lot of it takes place in the laboratory. It takes place, in this big Biosyn complex, which looks suspiciously like the new Apple campus in Cupertino, California.
Yeah, the big circular thing.
And
right? Yeah.
The boss of Biosyn also looks suspiciously like
Tim Keys, Tim Apple. What's his name?
Yeah. So and I thought that he was actually a pretty good bad guy. He was a pretty good villain. But apart from this, I have to say, like, I give the creators a lot of credit, because what they had to work with after the fifth one, if someone says, okay, come up with a new storyline, we've seen it all before. They recycled a lot of themes. Surprise, surprise, it ends with everyone escaping in a helicopter. I mean, it's the only way these things end.
Stereotypical Jurassic Park ending, really.
And with the two apex predators, fighting each other for supremacy. But I have to say, the storyline, while I cannot say it was incredible, it was actually pretty good given what they had to work with. I don't think that there's really a better storyline that they could have come up with. It's hard to...
Oh no, I have ideas.
Tell me.
Okay, so let me go over why I think this was a really bad movie. And when I say bad movie, I mean fundamentally I had problems with it, right? And the fundamental thing is that, look, when you're talking about any story, generally speaking, it's widely accepted, and this structure is widely accepted because it's what works, is that you have like a 3 or 4 act structure, right? Where the first act is where you kind of introduce the characters of the movie or the story. And you generally have, the first act generally ends with an inciting event, right? Something happens that kicks the movie off. So you're introduced to all the characters. You're introduced to the good guys, the bad guys, some ancillary characters, some plot, and maybe not the plot overall, but the location and the set piece, and you get an idea of what the plot could be. And then Act 1 generally ends with some inciting event. Act 2 continues where you have the impetus of the plot. Really, it's the maintenance of the plot, and, something else happens that keeps the plot going. And then Act 3, generally speaking, is kind of like the conclusion, right? Where you have another sequence, which is like, this is what the story is kind of wrapping up towards, and you have some kind of conclusion. It's, what we learned in basic, English 101 when we were in middle school, which is you have to have an introduction, you have to have the main story, and then you have to have a conclusion, right? Like in any essay.
Oh, yeah.
And this, I felt like it didn't have any of those structured properly, right?
That's true.
In Act 1, you're introduced to 2 groups of protagonists and 2 different plots, right? One, which is about this evil group of poachers who are kidnapping humans and dinosaurs, and they're going to like this shady dinosaur market in Malta. And the second is where you have also now a second plot, which is about a shady organization which has like bioengineered some crops and some, locusts, and they're, it's a profit-driven motive. Then the second act, it's just basically, the second act for me was basically just the Malta action sequence, right?
Pete, you and I have been to Malta.
I have comments about that too, by the way.
And I don't recall Malta being anything like that. Did Malta relocate to the Middle East or to like Egypt?
What's so funny is that it was one of my, it's my 6th point on my list of notes that I made after this. And I'll get to that as well. And then Act 3 is where you see the plots merge, right? The 2 main plots merge, and then they have this like weird melding, and the conclusion isn't really a conclusion. And as you and I have both pointed out, this is a Jurassic movie, but dinosaurs are not really the main impetus of anything. They're kind of like, oh, and by the way, we also have dinosaurs who are kind of like obstacles to the... they're like dinosaurs play like the B-level bad guy.
It's a corporate espionage film that takes place in a zoo. That's another way of saying it, right?
If you remove the dinosaurs and put it into a wildlife sanctuary, it would have been exactly the same thing.
Or a jungle.
Instead of dinosaurs, it could have been
It
could have been rhinos, it could have been lions, it could have been jaguars, it could have been any normal animal that we know.
Rhino.
And it would have been exactly the same movie. Right, which again, and to be fair, that would have added even more credence to it, because at least we can appreciate that rhino poaching is a real thing, elephant poaching is a real thing in Africa. All these things are real problems that we see in the world today, and I don't understand why they needed dinosaurs in this movie.
Well, I mean, it is Jurassic Park.
But that's the point, right? So, and that's another thing.
I agree. You're saying the plot didn't actually need dinosaurs in it. They wrote a plot, and then they just sprinkled in dinosaurs because it's a Jurassic movie. It should have been a movie written around the dinosaurs.
I think they were like writing the end, and then they were like, oh crap, this is a dino movie. Oh, let's quickly go back and let's throw some dinos in there. Oh, let's get a velociraptor get kidnapped, and then Chris Pratt has to rescue the velociraptor because he makes a promise to a velociraptor that he'll get his kid back. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. Even for Jurassic Park, this was a step too far.
I mean, that's not even my biggest problem. I think my problem is that that's not even my biggest problem.
Yeah. And then, by the way, going back to your point, which was my 6th point of furious note-taking, what is this Hollywood obsession with making any non-US place that's even vaguely exotic, have a sepia tint, right? Malta, you and I have been to Malta. We spent 3 or 4 days there together on a work trip. Malta does not look like it's in the Middle East.
No, it's not Morocco.
Look like it's in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
And for the love of God, like, it's a modern city. It's a modern country, and of course, every European city in Europe, and most even East Coast U.S. cities have an old city element to them, right?
There's cobblestone.
But this certainly implied the entire city or the entire country was basically back in the 19th century, ruled by some, ancient Middle Eastern king or some Moroccan king. It felt like something out of Indiana Jones. Yeah. It didn't feel like an old city, like a real city.
Yeah.
Right? And the whole place isn't a marketplace and a square. And also, Malta, a famously small, compact island nation, dino trading, and then all of a sudden they escape and nobody seems to care when they're in that, little the black market. 2 huge dinos have escaped, and people are still gambling in front of the fighting pit.
You just see a guy like riding his bicycle, and he gets eaten off the bicycle.
And then he gets eaten off a bicycle.
If you would see that, you would probably take a different alleyway. I'm maybe not going to take my usual path to work today.
People would lose their minds. I don't understand. And everyone was so nonchalant. They're like, "Oh, it's Tuesday. Well, I guess the dinosaurs are out."
We live with dinosaurs now.
I mean, the problem with this movie was it was all over the place. I think it had 2 competing plots, and it didn't do a good job really of integrating. It had really nothing to do with dinosaurs. They say it did because they very, very loosely put in dino DNA being crucial to solving, a lot of genetic problems. But then why introduce the locust element? But why, and if you're going to go with that Monsanto thing, then why introduce the element of the kidnapping and poachers? It just made no sense.
But Pete, can I identify what I think the biggest problem is? That there's a lot of movies that you and I can pick apart the plot, but there's also some movies that there was not a single time in here I even came close to laughing. Not a single funny line or thing happened. And humor or a very cool character can really, it's like the duct tape of films. You can really smooth over a lot of plot problems if you're that was funny. That was a funny movie. Chris Pratt started on Parks and Recreation. He is a comedian. Right? Yep. Jeff Goldblum is, by profession, a comedian. Why isn't there any single line in here? Not just that I didn't laugh. They didn't even try to make me laugh. And for that reason, I think you and I obsessively focused on how many gaps there are in the plot, which we probably could have forgiven if it would have been a really joyous movie to watch.
Honestly, this reminded me, did you also notice that maybe 80% of the lines Chris Pratt said, he said with his hands out in front of a dinosaur?
Yeah.
With his palms out. Yeah. I'm just every time he spoke, even when he was with a human, he's like, oh, I'm going to put my hand out. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
It was so infuriating because there were certain, it could have been so... It could have brought the series back.
I mean, he's fun.
I have to say.
He's funny in Star-Lord. When you watch Guardians of the Galaxy, he is charismatic and he is funny. Really funny. Why, when they have him a leading man in this film, they don't even write a single line or any single situation where he's funny? It's really, I think, a disservice to him.
I would say that Chris Pratt and Jeff Goldblum are 2 of the more charismatic actors that we have working today. Yeah. And I would say there are certainly elements of time, like there was a little bit of comedic back and forth in terms of how they behaved with each other between Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum, which stems back from Jurassic Park 1, which I loved. So the original trio, it was so good to see them back together, and you could see that they gelled. There was great chemistry there.
But I'm lukewarm about that. I'll tell you, I'm lukewarm about that.
I was very happy with them. To be honest, I'm not saying that they were good in this movie. I'm just saying the chemistry was good.
I thought Goldblum had a very good performance. He wasn't funny, but I thought that Goldblum. He had his understated, kind of sarcastic-y stuff. I thought that he was reasonably. I thought honestly he was pretty solid. Probably the best you could expect to get from him in this role. Dern didn't add anything, and I'm a huge Laura Dern fan.
Me too.
And
the romance between the two of them felt a little bit forced.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I found the whole thing to be a little muddled that way.
Sam Neill is wearing his hat inside. Did
you get an Indiana Jones vibe from him?
I'm like, dude, you're inside a laboratory. Why are you wearing your hat? It's almost like they intentionally dress those two up so that you don't forget, oh, by the way, they're archaeologists.
They're archaeologists, right? And the one scene that really made me think that they were going for an Indiana Jones vibe is when Laura Dern, and Maisie get stuck in that mine.
Yeah.
Right? And he takes the pliers or whatever
torch.
It is and lights and he wraps a cloth around it and uses it as a torch. And you see him with his Indiana Jones hat. Yeah. And then he drops the hat and he goes back for the hat. And I was just like, oh my God, this couldn't be more Indiana Jones than anything else, right? The second movie was frustrating. I didn't like it so much, but it set up what I thought was going to be a great way for them to bring Jurassic World back into the forefront. And they kind of teased it at the end of Jurassic World 2. They kind of teased it at the beginning of Jurassic World 3. But then they didn't follow through. What I think people really want to see is, okay, dinosaurs are roaming the world. Fine. Right? Or at least America. Fine. Now let's see how they interact with people in the cities. We've seen dinosaurs in the jungle. We've seen them in sanctuaries. We've seen them in cages. I thought this was going to really be man versus dino. Imagine, you're in the middle of New York City and you're kind of, the streets are rampaging. It has rampaging triceratops. I thought it was going to be like that. And, you kind of saw glimpses of it because there were a couple of pterodactyls who set up nests on top of these massive skyscrapers. You see that, but it's a blink and you miss it moment. And then immediately we go back to this Swiss sanctuary where they've set up yet another Jurassic World era or Jurassic Park style, sanctuary for dinosaurs where they can't really do any damage to anybody.
Yeah. Tell me what your proposed plot is. If you've got to rewrite this all over after 5, where do you go for number 6?
All right, so I'm going to work with you on this. All right, but here's what I think is going to happen. Yeah. Let's workshop it. I think what's going to happen is dinosaurs are now, some dinos have kind of settled, kind of like how they've showed. Some of them are in the redwood forest. They're just kind of living a natural lifestyle. But some of them are still struggling because now you've got big cities, right? So because I think it was close to California. Let's talk Los Angeles. Let's talk San Francisco, right? So you see dinosaurs rampaging through the streets of San Francisco, and it becomes a storyline about how man has to coexist with dinosaurs. And this is now I'm taking a little bit away from, what's that movie? Godzilla, where you have a scientist that creates some kind of device that allows you to repel dinosaurs away. And the military is kind of working to weaponize dinosaurs, so they're trying to use it in a bad way. And it becomes a case where you have dinosaurs in the city. The good guys are trying to coexist and / push them out naturally. And the bad guys are other humans who are trying to weaponize dinosaurs in some way or the other.
Not bad.
What do you think?
Not bad off the cuff. How about, let me throw this out there and you tell me if it captivates you at all. What if we have dinosaurs now, since they're living in the modern world, are susceptible to, the types of viruses and bacteria that they were never exposed to. And suddenly they start dying off. And instead we need some rescue mission. And I mean, I'm just making up the science as we go. There's, some dinosaurs that are, nestled away somewhere and they have to go back to the island and find a male and a female and reproduce them and kind of save them and then put them like in a sanctuary. I'm kind of okay with the idea of a sanctuary, kind of like in the Swiss-Italian Alps. That seems like a little bit realistic to me or okay. But I feel like I wanted more of I wanted to, it's fun when you kind of flip the script. The dinosaurs have kind of been the bad guys previously, where they were causing damage. They were eating people. I thought we would like flip it a little bit and suddenly it would be, let's actually save the dinos. They're not able to survive. We thought that they were going to be these predators that were going to be causing havoc in the cities. Like you mentioned, the Triceratops is running through the streets of, Los Angeles or something. But let's say that starts and suddenly they're like, hey, we can't deal with the smog, the pollution, all this other, bacteria that we never had a million years ago. Suddenly they're dying off. We're like, hey, we gotta rescue these before they're gone forever. I thought it would be a little bit more like race against time. In here, there was no dramatic element here. There was no race against the clock.
Exactly. There was nothing that was kind of driving you forward in in a way that created tension.
Yeah.
Right. Or what if we flip the script one more time and say, hey, what if the dinosaurs are bringing diseases from 65 million years ago
that we bad.
Can't deal that we as humans can't deal with.
That's not bad. What if
then there's a race to find that one, to solve the genome so that we can figure out how they've survived it.
This is why we workshop together. Pete.
See, there you go.
Yeah, that's actually a very good one. I like that where like we saw them a little bit in the ocean. What if they start, messing up the ecosystem? And suddenly there's no more tuna. There's no more salmon. They're unleashing, kind of their own bacteria into the water. There's no more shrimp. There's no more anything.
Yeah, they're kind of terraforming the world to the way they were.
Yes, right? Suddenly
So all of a sudden,
no more cows, no more sheep, no more venison. Yeah.
But then the methane emissions go through the roof and the atmosphere is slowly changing back to prehistoric times.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's actually we've only been doing this for 28 minutes. 28 minutes. We didn't ask for like a suite at Chateau Marmont. We didn't ask for anything. And here we are 28 minutes later. We've got a much better plot for this huge franchise than they've come up with. And in addition to the plot, I mean, I know that you're very loyal to Dern, to Sam Neill, to Goldblum. That's all well and good. I'm not going to criticize that. I admire your loyalty. But this needs a new face. It's the same cast. Okay, Chris Pratt.
Well, we did talk about that, right?
I used to love Bryce Dallas Howard. She's not compelling to me anymore. I'm not excited by the pilot. I thought was pretty good. I'm not excited about at all Macy Lockwood. For me, this is just another angsty teenager. I don't need this in my life. And I'm not sure actually what parent wants to go to a movie and see another angsty teenager in their life. I thought it's unnecessary, not lovable, unnecessary, to be honest. But I would have loved to see like a new face. I don't want to see Henry Wu again and try to make him into a good guy. I thought that, Mohamedou Athi, Ramzi Cole, I thought he was very good. I wanted to see like another person, become a little bit more prominent and kind of like another voice of the Jurassic series. I mean, if you're going to have 7, Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard again, I mean, Laura Dern and Sam Neill, I mean, having geriatric love affair. I mean, come on. We've got to they've got to introduce someone new. And I thought this was exactly the film where they could have said, now starring this person, you know? I really, really feel like that's a missed opportunity if they want this to be a sustainable franchise going forward.
So when we spoke about this last week or the week before, I was on the fence. I agreed with you that if we had someone, remember we mentioned Ashton Kutcher.
I think I said Justin
and then you
Timberlake.
also said, Timberlake and Beale. We suggested, right? We talked about it.
Yes.
I was on the fence at the time because, again, I was very happy with the original trio, and I thought that, you know what? I think Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard can kind of carry it if there's any shortcomings. And having seen this movie now, I think
my favorite words are coming. My favorite words are coming.
I think you called it, my friend. I think you absolutely nailed it. Is that we do need fresh blood.
Yes.
If this is the end, if this is genuinely end of the franchise, that's fine. I know that I'm cynical because I don't think Hollywood is the type of industry or environment where they would leave money on the table. They tend to beat horses until they're dead and well beyond they're dead. So I don't I can't imagine that any studio is going to pass up the opportunity to make another Jurassic Park or Jurassic World.
But it's
sometime in the future.
It's too late though. You shouldn't let Jurassic Park 6 come out. Let's call it Jurassic Park 6. It cannot let Jurassic Park 6 come out and then say, you know what? That kind of flopped. We probably should have introduced someone new. That's okay. We'll do it for 7. I mean, the time to do that was in 6. Say, hey, 5 wasn't so great. We need something to carry 6 into 7. Let's introduce new blood. This was the time to do it. And I'm really disappointed. It could have been someone in the lab. It could have been, Ramsey Cole. Someone should have had a bigger role and taken over for Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, or send off Bryce Dallas Howard, and say her and Pratt are moving on, or Dern and Sam Neill are moving on. It's just, where does it go from here? It's really tough now to come up with a new script. And you're going to have to really do a lot of gymnastics, I think, to explain why one of these characters is no longer there.
And more importantly, even the new characters that they have introduced, like DeWanda Wise, the pilot, and Ramsey Cole, they're not strong enough individually or even as a pair to carry the franchise forward. No. They're not charismatic enough. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I really like DeWanda Wise. I'd
like to see both of those again, but they didn't even write them in a way where it's like, she's a pilot. Okay. Do you need another pilot?
And you see her that she gets the same plane at the end of the movie, and that's it.
So, I mean, one of the great things that Fast and Furious has done, despite some awful plots that we could tear up, is they've always gone out and they've brought in talent, and that's always kept it fresh. And I'm really not clear why Jurassic Park, which was kind of a middling franchise even before 6, didn't adopt the same strategy and say, hey, okay, The Rock's not available. Okay, this person's not available. Let's go get Kevin Hart. Right? Let's go get this person.
Let's get John Cena. Yeah. Let's get, whoever else. Yeah. Whoever else.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I think is a lost opportunity.
Yeah. I imagine that if they're going to make a 7th movie, it's going to be a whole new fresh batch of characters with zero reference to the original characters. And when I say original, I mean not just the trio, but also not just the original 3, but then Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt from the second movie. Yeah. And it's going to be set in a world that now has dinosaurs in it, and that's it. It's not going to have anything to do with any of the previous movies. It's just, for me, fundamentally, the Jurassic Park movies have genuinely been disaster movies, right? Disaster movies with dinosaurs in them. Yeah. There's always some element of tension, and this movie didn't have that element of tension.
I agree.
So I don't know. It felt really flat for me. I walked out of the movie. I was disappointed. And again, as you rightly said, it's not a movie I would have normally seen given how the second one ended. But I still walked in hoping that it had changed.
Any scenes that you liked? Any scenes that you can say, hey, that was actually pretty funny, or that was pretty good? Can I give you mine?
Yeah, please.
I thought when Bryce Dallas Howard ejected from the plane and she's like in the seat with a parachute, that seemed like it was filmed with like a selfie stick. I thought that was actually very, very cool. Yeah. I thought that was a very, very good scene. Yeah.
Because they were focused on her the entire time. Yeah. She's like on this gyroscope kind of thing where she's going around in circles. And
I thought
it was good. You're right. That was good.
I thought that was a very, very good shot. I thought when the locusts caught on fire and escaped and kind of like created all the havoc from the sky and were falling, I thought that was pretty cool. Although I was wondering, since everything was ice and snow, what actually caught on fire?
I just don't understand how a bunch of locusts can set the entire forest on fire.
I mean, it was...
I get if they were all concentrated in one area and you set off one tree on fire and that spreads, but they were like miles apart.
But it was snow-covered Alps. I mean, we saw that there was snow. We saw that... I mean, actually, it's a little bit unclear what this terrain was like, because when you think about it, Bryce Dallas Howard crashed into something that was clearly a jungle. Yeah. She was in water.
That's right.
She was in water, but then close to the headquarters, Pratt and DeWanda
on
Wise
an ice lake, right?
Were on an ice lake.
Yeah.
Wait a second. What's the...
It's 10 different biomes within 5 kilometers of each other. Exactly.
What's the climate?
I honestly think that what they did was, look, let's throw some cool new dinosaurs in there. Let's throw, a Therizinosaur in there. Let's throw, that feathered raptor thing in
which
there.
Which was cool.
That can, all cool, but then they built like these one-off 5-second long action sequences around them or set pieces around them, and then you forget about them. Like there was no, the real beauty of Jurassic Park 1 was there was one T-Rex, there was one pack of velociraptors, and that's really, in terms of the danger, that's all you were really ever worried about. You saw a few other small compies, you saw like that spitting thing for Newman. That's it. There was no focus on anything else. You weren't really worried about the main characters based on those other dinosaurs. You were only worried for the main characters based on the T-Rex and based on the velociraptors. That's it. It was so focused.
Yeah.
And this, I think, and that final battle scene, which you alluded to, was an example of that, where you have that Giganotosaurus versus the T-Rex versus the Therizinosaur or whatever that other dinosaur was. And it's kind of like then they start doing a tag team battle against the Giga, and you're just like, what's going on here? I don't understand where this is coming from.
Yeah. I still stand by my earlier comment, which is whenever you build a franchise around animals, you're still kind of limited about how much you can do that's new, right? Because it has to be all physical. There's no relationship building, there's no humor, there's no sarcasm, there's no character arc, right? I mean, a T-Rex is a T-Rex in every single film. I mean, look what they've tried to do. They've tried to humanize the raptor Blue as much as possible. It's still a raptor. It cannot speak. Yeah. It can't do anything other than hunt and kind of like look and make some croaking sounds. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the challenge of Jurassic, which is why they moved the storyline away from dinosaurs, because there's only so many battles that we can see. I mean, I'd rather see the T-Rex just hunting down brontosauruses and like eating them in a very, very like vicious way. I'd be interested in that. We haven't actually seen like the carnivores going after the herbivores at all, but apart from that, I understand why they had to move away a little bit. I think it's tough. I think it's really, really tough to write the script, but I agree with you. We came up with something better within, 20 minutes of this podcast episode than I think the writers came up with. And I know that they wanted to do something in kind of the mountains of the US. Then they wanted to go somewhere kind of exotic in Europe, and then they wanted to take it back to the sanctuary, but
it's, I think if you had that and the element where we're saying that a virus from the Jurassic era comes back to modern day Earth and humans can't handle it, I think there's a way to implement all 5 main characters in that, right? Yeah. You have the paleobiologist working with the so you have Ellie Sattler working with Sam Neill, Alan Grant. They're both, dinosaur experts and paleobiologists, so they can work on finding the animals that are causing the problem, and they can work on finding the cure. And then, they're like, oh, we found this one potential tree that has a berry in the middle of, whatever XYZ location that we can go. And then they need Chris Pratt, who's like a tracker who can go help them. There's a way of integrating all the different elements of the skill sets that each of these characters bring versus what they did in this movie, which is to say, okay, we're 2 random groups that kind of get mushed together at the end of it, united by what? This one evil Monsanto-like corporation.
Yeah. That is right. That is right. I'm sorry to say this, but Sam Neill is still working in an archaeological dig, like brushing off dinosaur bones with a toothbrush. Why?
He's got to really love it, or he needs the money.
But who is funding him? Who's like, you know what? I think we should give this guy a grant to dig up some old dinosaur bones. Never mind that there's dinosaurs all over the place just walking around.
Touche.
Right?
Touche. That's actually really valid, by the way. I think you nailed it. It's like, wait a minute. Why do we need archaeologists anymore? We've got live specimens.
He should have been. He should have been unemployed. Honestly, he should have been like Fat Thor, unemployed. And Laura Dern went to him and said, "Look, Sam, I got a job for us. You're not doing anything. No one goes to your lectures anymore. No one's reading your book. You can't get grants. I've got an idea. Let's do this."
Jeez, that is such a good point. I didn't even think about, because why do you need an archaeologist to study dinosaurs? That makes no sense.
It would have been, but it would have been funny if like some student would have been like, you know what? I think this was like a 2-legged creature. And all of a sudden you see like the exact dinosaur, like running through their sight and like tearing everything up, right? They're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
If they're going to do that, like at least make it
that's really funny.
Humorous, right? No.
That's really funny.
No,
like I like
humor.
that. Like,
yes.
You're so funny because you're so right, because Jeff Goldblum did make that point, right? He's like, why am I doing this job? I've got 5 kids. I've got to feed them somehow, right? Like he made that point, was like, I'm working with the evil empire because they pay well. Yeah. And because I need the money because I've got 5 kids. Yeah. Right. Which again plays into his character, plays a little bit into that humor element.
Apart from the Monsanto, which somehow has become a bad word in culture now, but apart from the Monsanto-like elements of Biosyn really didn't seem that evil, right? They gave dinosaurs a sanctuary. They kind of controlled them, kept the peace, and they said, hey, we're going to try to find some diseases and study their immune system. That didn't seem bad at all. It was just
that and the kidnapping, right? The working with illegal poachers. That's kind of not great.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that gets back to, you're really worried about the poaching of the dinosaurs? I mean, it's a hard issue, right? They used to be extinct. We brought them back. So you're really worried about them being extinct? Or is it just cruelty? Cruelty, I agree, is... Yeah.
I guess it's just cruelty, right? Because you have that back alley den where they're gambling on them. They're doing like the equivalent of like dog fighting or chicken fighting.
Yeah. I wouldn't be messing with any of those things. I have to say it, like, I wouldn't be messing with any of those dinosaurs. All of them seem like really aggressive.
Yeah, it's just it seems so counterintuitive, right? I don't know. Yeah. It just...
What did you think of my favorite, Soyona? And her laser guided dinosaur system.
I think, as I've declared on this show many times before, I have a massive crush on her, so I give her a free pass.
Yeah.
I give her a free pass all the time.
What did you think of like her laser guided dinosaur system though?
Yeah, I thought that was a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Like, why? They're not cats. They're dinosaurs.
Yeah.
You know, you can't point a laser. And they. What's amazing is that they had object permanence, which is to say that she pointed the laser at them for 10 seconds.
If
they imprinted on the victims, and then they chased them across, and not just the city, like across the country of Malta. Right? They went from downtown Valletta, which is where that old school market is that we've been to.
Yep.
We went from downtown Valletta of old Malta through modern Malta, through the outskirts of Valletta into like
all the way to the coast.
To the coast, which is literally on the other side of the island.
Yeah.
In a 15-minute chase sequence.
For what? A Scooby snack? I mean, what are they doing?
And because she pointed a laser pointer at this guy, and I mean, I don't know, man. It's just... Look, I get it. It's a plot contrivance. It's fine. You look over it, but when this movie... The thing is...
But what? Why isn't that dinosaur like swimming? Why isn't that dinosaur swimming? Like, when does it end? It ends when they...
Yeah, exactly.
It would have been better if it would have been like swimming all the way over to like Switzerland and then come through and say, haha, I haven't forgotten about that laser dot.
Yeah, that would have made me laugh, though, in all fairness. That would have made me laugh.
Heat-seeking missile.
And you just know, by the way, that if they do make a Jurassic Park 7, she's going to come back.
I hope so.
Being one of the bad guys.
She was an excellent bad guy. Yeah.
She was cold, calculated, but you just know that because she was the one bad guy who wasn't eaten by a dinosaur, that it's likely that every other bad guy in this movie was eaten by a dinosaur.
Yeah.
So you just know she's going to come back and be a villain in the next one if they ever make a next one.
All right. That's Jurassic Dominion. Jurassic World Dominion?
Yeah.
It's Jurassic World.
Yeah, Jurassic World Dominion.
Jurassic World Dominion. Let's see what happens. Have you heard anything about how is the...
It's too early to tell for box office. We'll get early estimates for box office. As of we're recording on Saturday. The movie came out Saturday the 11th. The movie came out on Friday the 10th. And I think what we're going to see is it's got two problems. One, the movie isn't good. And two, Top Gun is still in the theaters. So I think what we're going to see is that we'll get early estimates.
Yeah.
We'll get early estimates to box office receipt tomorrow, 12th of June. And we'll get final numbers probably sometime midday on the 13th, on Monday. So I will see how it goes. I really expected that even if this movie were mediocre, which this movie is well beyond mediocre to terrible, I thought that, you know what? I don't care if the movie is not good because I didn't like Jurassic World 1 so much. I didn't like Jurassic World 2 at all.
No.
But they both still made $1 billion. One, like Jurassic World 1 made like 1.6 billion or 1.4 billion. Jurassic World 2 made 1.1 or 1.2 billion.
Is that
so
right?
I thought in my mind, I thought that even if the movie isn't good, even if I don't like it, there's still going to be dinosaurs. There are going to be some good action sequences. I think this is going to be the perfect blockbuster summer for it. I thought it was going to be, that's why I think I had ranked Jurassic World 3 as my number 2 film in the cinemas. I think this is going to come way down. I think it's going to not. I think the reviews are so bad for it right now that even people who are desperate to see movies would say, you know what, I'd rather go see Top Gun a second time than waste my time watching a movie that's terrible. Which is why, at best, I think this is going to be a movie that people are going to adore when it gets to streaming. But when it comes to, going to the cinema, I think you should avoid it. I think you should avoid it at all costs. I think
I'm going to read these off. I get this from the numbers, which you and I subscribe to, right? So I will read these off in order. And I assume this is adjusted for
inflation.
I think so, but I'm not going to.
Generally speaking, by the numbers is, yeah.
So Jurassic Park 1993. You want the worldwide or do you want the domestic?
No, go worldwide.
Let's go worldwide. Let's be global. Okay. 1993, Jurassic Park, the original, $1 billion.
Amazing.
The second one, 600 million. The third one, 365. Huge drop.
Yeah.
14 years later, people kind of forgot about it and they were excited for the reboot. Jurassic World, 1.7.
There you go. Huge.
Yeah, that's crazy. Fallen Kingdom, 1.3. And then,
unbelievable.
Actually, they've got Dominion so far.
Oh, they've got estimated already?
Yep, and it's 74 million.
Yeah, but that's probably just the Friday numbers, and that's probably that's few.
That's up I don't know how 10th. Many. That's up to the 10th. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to break 100 million for sure because it's still a Jurassic Park movie. There's still some dinos in there, and no matter what, you're going to get the diehards. But I think it's going to use. I think where you're going to see the drop off is next weekend. I think the first weekend people aren't reading reviews, aren't watching. They're not listening to films and stuff. They're going to go watch the movie. They're going to get utterly disappointed. They're going to listen to films and stuff, and they're going to realize, oh my God, we should have waited. We should have heard films and stuff first.
Yeah, I agree. It's really, when they had those numbers though, it really justifies bringing in a new big star. Honestly, if they bring in just Timberlake and Beale, I'm just making those people up, but I mean, wow, if they would have done that and had those carry then from 6 to 7, that seems like it would have justified another billion plus, and it would have set 7 up for something really great, you know?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I still think that the fundamental issue with this movie is the plot structure and the writing structure.
No humor. I think no humor.
And if you don't want to have like humor or good level fun, that's fine too. But then make sure that the movie is good. Top Gun didn't have me rolling in laughs, but the movie was good. So I didn't. You can excuse the fact that you're not walking out of the movie laughing your head off, but that's fine. That's not what the movie is designed to do. And when you have someone like Jeff Goldblum and when you have someone like Chris Pratt, two naturally comedic stars, try to throw in some humor in there.
All right, Pete.
That's our view.
That is our view. It is time to wrap it up for today, but we've got at least several other episodes that we've got to discuss, which is Ms. Marvel. We've got to discuss Adam Sandler's Hustle and season 3 of For All Mankind is out. We've got to discuss all those, Pete.
That's right. We're going to do that. So I think we'll talk about Ms. Marvel definitely, maybe along with For All Mankind in one episode, maybe 2. We don't know yet because they're only one episode of each has dropped. We don't know where it's going yet. It's too early for both of those series, but yes, we still definitely have some good thoughts on them.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. We will catch you next time on Films and Stuff.
Thanks, Ethan.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.